I started a year with 449 unread books on my shelf, and I normally let the jar decide what I'm reading, but last month was brutal, so I decided this month I'm cheating. Don't worry, it's okay. I asked the boss, she said yes.
All you have to do is say yes. Nobody's gonna know.
Of her own free will. So, instead, I'm gonna be picking a shelf, and not any shelf, no, specifically one of the pink ones, because I can. So, which shelf am I reading from this month? 16. Let's go find out what I'm reading. So this is shelf 16, and you can see actually the progress I've made so far this year. There are some more holes in between the books I haven't read, but on that shelf we have about 20 books that are unread, so we have a lot of options. I feel like this one could be good because it has been on my shelf for super long. I believe this one is about sisters. We have, I think this was a curse on the women in this family. That also sounds good. Oh, I have been meaning to read this for forever. It's a contemporary romance set in June, so like the timing would be good. We have, I've never read actually anything by Anne Patchett. Is it a good one to start with? Let me know. What else? I am in the middle of another book by this author, so I probably should not start another one. And we do have a few actually YA books. I could do a like decluttering kind of version of the video, but I've done a couple this year. I would prefer finding something I like. So I think we're going to start with this one because that sounds just perfect. 7 Days in June is a contemporary romance I've been meaning to read. And again, June. We're in June. This is the perfect timing. I couldn't remember if it was YA or adult, but the first sentence of the prologue is, in the year of our Lord 2019, 32-year-old Eva Mercy nearly choked to death on a piece of gum. And you'll see on the screen the rest of that paragraph. So clearly an adult one, which I'm very happy with. So I'm going to be starting with this. I'm hoping to root for the romance. It's not my main genre, but for summer, absolutely. Let's do this. Is there space for me to read? I feel like every time I say that, it's only these two cats. You have Charlie Baby. So cute. Do you know your life? Probably not. And you have Chippy Baby, who loves to use the pillows. I'm sorry. You look like you wanted affection and I walked away. I'm sorry. The vet did tell me he's too round. But it's hard. He's such a cutie. And he finishes everyone's plate. So I have to play food police now. Yeah. So we're going to see how far I can get into this book today. It's going to be hard because, again, oh my goodness. With the cats, it's hard to do anything. They only cuddle me during the... Did I ever tell you that? Tangent, okay? But I feel like I imagine my future with cats cuddling me at night. Like, I feel like that's what you want. You know, you spend your whole day waiting for the time you're going to be able to read or watch TV or whatever, just relax and cuddle with a bunch of cats. What's the point of having 4 cats if they don't cuddle you at night? And they don't anymore. And I did it to myself. That's the worst part. It's my fault. Because one time, I had ordered them some, and I got a package, and it was, you know, like 8 o'clock at night or whatever. So I give them some that night. And one thing you might not know if you don't have cats is that they love a strict schedule, especially Chunky. So unfortunately, it became a thing because I had a big heart and made an exception that one time. No, now every night before bedtime, they have to have. So I can't even say that word because... But the thing is, to combine it with something else is that in the last couple of years, I've had a lot of health issues. So sometimes I go to bed way too early. Now you see where that's going. So now I have 4 cats silently staring at me past like 7. Every time I move, they all freak out because they hope that I'm going to bed. So I have 4 cats that do not cuddle me every night. And like, look at this. Like, is that not... You have the perfect body shape for cuddles, okay? The perfect one. And currently, oh my god, even Clark, look, okay, I'm being stared at. Look, stop being so cute. I cannot deal. But yeah, she's staring at me too. That's basically what every evening for me is like. If I'm on the couch reading, watching something, I have 4 cats staring at me. They might be laying down, but they're waiting. If I get up to go pee or grab something to drink or eat, they all freak out. Just wanted to share my sadness and to warn you, do not do anything like that with your kids because they don't cuddle me anymore every night. So yeah, they cuddle me during the day. They love the mornings. Like when I'm too busy, this is when, so I've had to change my whole schedule. Okay, in the morning I take it slow because I know that one by one they're gonna come for cuddles, which is great. Okay, I'm not really complaining about that part, but like it's just not as convenient as nighttime. But I ruined it for myself. It's almost time for their next, so that's why they're all staring. Especially E is E is the most like intense follower of schedule. One day if you want me to do it, I can give you all of the things he has done to force me to feed him because he's insane. He's the first one. The reason when we started at first to have a diet, it was him. He's basically at a healthy weight now. We're almost there, but he does the most annoying things ever. Like, he's by far my most annoying cat. So again, maybe a different video, I'll give you the list because it's a long list of crazy things. But yes, I'm gonna make progress on this, and then we're gonna have to take a break to feed the babies, and you know, we'll see how far I can get. But that first sentence, the prologue, we're starting intense, so I'm hopeful it's gonna be a good one.
Cause life is too heavy for me. It's too heavy for me. I've been running around for 33 years with a heavy heart and a restless head.
So I've read the prologue I had already read, and then the first 3 chapters, and so far I'm enjoying it. I think it's going to be more fun than I expected because, I mean, it was a romance, but like the main character writes an erotica series. So far it's like light and fun, but we're also getting flashbacks from 2004. I think that's when she's younger, she meets the guy the first time for 7 days in June. So yeah, so far I'm enjoying it, but I have to go feed the cats before they decide to eat me. For against one, I stand no chance. Okay, I am sweating buckets right now. It has no business being this hot. It's been raining literally every day. The humidity is killing me. If my hair is poofy, yes it is. So, finished my first book of this challenge, and I'm glad that, you know, Claudia proved that I could have fun. This one was perfect timing, not only for, you know, June, but I feel like summer is the perfect time to read contemporary romance. It's definitely not my main genre, but I'm glad that I remembered that I owned this because it was worth it. I had heard good things, but like I said, I wasn't sure if it was YA or adult. And as we saw from the beginning, definitely adult, but in a good way. Like, it's fun to follow, like, older characters in their 30s in general. It's just more fun than 16-year-olds. At this point, I'm really over it. The premise: you have these 2 characters who met when they were teenagers for 7 days in June, and it was a very intense connection, and it really marked down they were both having difficult childhoods, and that was an important moment. But they separated, and they're both well-known authors, Black authors, and they just never met again until I think it's 15 years later they meet again. And, you know, maybe they're ready now to, you kind of get more of their backstory. And I actually appreciated that she is a mother, but also she has a chronic illness, which representation is great also. It's very realistic. I feel like it's not, I feel like just because their representation does not mean it's a good one, but I thought that this one was good. She has chronic pain, and I like that she had a good relationship with her daughter. And yeah, all that portion was great. And again, if we read books, a lot of us also just like to read about people that also love books. So that was fun. But the romance was great. I really enjoyed it. Again, the kind of slow burn after, you know, so many years. But my one complaint, I want to mention it now because otherwise I'm going to forget. I haven't read that many romance, and I think the term is like third act drama, like the fight. Oh no. It really pisses me off. Like, I understand why it's there, you know, and add complexity in this case. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but I understand why it's there, but it's not even big. But for me at that point, I'm ready for them to be together. Like, screw the fight. I don't care. Just make them happy. Like, I was not happy when that happened because, like, again, I'm ready for them to just be happy. It's a romance. I want, you know, the nice feelings. But again, it makes sense why she did it. But also, I didn't mention it, but she is a writer, yes, but she writes smut, which isn't, I don't really read smut, but I thought it was well represented anyway. It was fun. And I feel like the explanation of like why she went with that, and at that point she's kind of ready to move on from that. Again, I can't say too more about what she writes. It has vampires and magic, but you know, kind of her own past being used for that, and now she's kind of ready to branch out and discover more about her family, the women in her family. That portion was really interesting, and it reminds me of some of the other books that are on that shelf that I really want to try. So I'm ready to move on from this one. This was actually, what am I rating this? I think I'm gonna be giving it 4.25. Like, it was a really solid one. Again, I don't read a ton of them, but when I do, it's during the summer. Oh, did I say that when they meet again, it's also during June? So like, reading it now is perfect, and yeah, definitely one that you're gonna want to hug afterwards. Actually, I also want to include some recommendation for nonfiction books that I've read, because the topic does make you think about the school to prison pipeline for Black people in the US. I'll put them on the screen because I can't remember the title right now. But I thought that once again, it was really interesting that this was added into the conversation in general. Just, I like the banter. They had really strong connection. And like, I like that you can feel it, you know, like it was nice. So yeah, I'm just happy with this one. Happy with the ending. Do recommend it. The hype was real because I've been seeing it once in a while and I'm like, I have it on my shelf and I keep forgetting about it. And now it's finally done. So let's pick a second book. So for our second option, I think I'm gonna go with this one because that sounds fun. Curse on the Women. This other one, like I said, it was mentioning how the family, the women in her family. So it mentioned a fearsome Vietnamese witch curse her descendants. They will never know love or happiness, and they will only give birth to daughters. So let's see how that one goes. It's another one that's not too long, but I'm trying to pick the ones that I've kind of forgotten I own, because I feel like the point of the challenge is to get to the books that I never pick up. And sure, I cheated a little bit here, but again, I had permission from Claudia, so it's fine. So I feel like that's actually it's a really good shelf for that in general, because there are a lot. These are not my main genres, but I'm enjoying them. So let's see. Will this one pass the test? Let's do a little evening reading. I have about 30 pages left into the book, and I thought I could give you my fresh review as soon as I'm done. But the book so far, the plot was that, yes, there was this curse on this family, but one of the women is told that this year she needs to mend her relationship with her mother and her sister and daughters, because there will be a funeral, a wedding, and a grandson. So the first, you know, maybe the curse is done. So she has to do that. And I know it's really common in like basically most culture, but it makes me sad that like people are sad to have a daughter. And I feel like it was the opposite in my family, because I have an older brother, and then before I was born, they thought I was a boy. So when I came out a girl, my dad cried because I was the first daughter in like 7 or 8 generations. So I feel like I've experienced the opposite, and I feel like everyone should be happy to have daughters. Like, I know it's like slowly changing, but like the fact that it's even a thing just annoys me. So it's been a difficult read, a lot of fighting, but let me just finish it and then I'll give you my opinions. Because like the chapter I'm at is like the grandson, so the last prediction.
Wonder what I'm even doing here, and why my happy's always a little sad. Cause life is too heavy for me. It's too heavy for me. Life is too heavy for me.
Okay, that ending though. I don't know how I feel about this. Okay, first off, I am happy I finished it, because do you see this? It says September 2022. This is making me feel the shame that when they have to date like that for a book of the month. Anyway, almost 4 years on my shelf, so I'm really happy I did get around to reading it. I do like the plot that, you know, there's this curse on the family and that everyone will be unhappy in love and like the relationship with the family, and they will be stuck with only having daughters, which Vietnamese culture, but really every culture, it's a bad thing. And I understand that there's a lot of infighting because of the curse, but also just in general, the culture of like one-upping each other. Like, oh, well, your daughter is this, or your kid is this. Well, mine is, you know, is a doctor or is famous or is rich. So there's a lot of fighting between multiple generations of this family. And the book starts with no one is talking to anyone. And then there's the prediction that happens. So she tries to start mending the relationship and it doesn't go well. The fighting though is like, the tone is pretty humorous. I will give it that. Like imagine like older women fighting and like, was it oranges they were throwing at each other? Like, so like the tone is pretty light considering, but I think part of me was hoping that, I don't think this is a spoiler, but like I was hoping that they would become actually nicer to each other, which again, I don't know if it's culture, but I was having higher expectations for how much they would mend their relationships compared to what happened. Again, I'm keeping it somewhat vague. There are definitely more to the story than that, but mainly I think my main complaint, except for that, is that the book is pretty short, but you're following so many characters, and I'll admit I do tend to get overwhelmed whenever there are too many characters, and I believe there are like 14 women in that family, like again multiple generations, but like that's a lot of point of views. Okay, I will say that it wasn't too hard to remember who's who, so it wasn't too bad, but it was still kind of overwhelming. I feel like, again, the book is not super long, so we don't spend that much time with each person, so seeing their characters' arcs is not as well developed as it could have been for me. Again, the ending is okay, maybe I had too high expectations. I kind of wish it went deeper. That's going to be the overall review. And this is after, years and years of generations of that curse continuing. So this could be the generation where things change but I don't know. I feel a little underwhelmed. I think I'm going to give it 3 because, again, it was very readable, but it was pretty light, which might appeal to some people, but I think I prefer more depth into, again, if you're going to explore these characters and the topic of, again, just women being born and being a disappointment and just mending these relationships, I kind of would have wanted it to be deeper. So I feel like that's kind of a negative reviews, but it was a 3-star. Like, it was good. I'm happy I've read it because, again, I had them on my shelf for a while, but I would be curious if you've read it, how you felt, because I think I wanted a bit more. And the other book I read was really good. I feel like I've read some really good books this month, so let's see if my next one can be even better. So we have time for one more, and I think I'm going to go with this one because I've heard really good things and it's been on there for so long. You know what I just realized? I had left on this desk all week this book, The Names. Last week, I did a vlog where I was reading the most popular books of 2026 so far, according to Goodreads. And I had a TBR of like 5 books and I read 4 of them. I was really proud, and this was the only one that I didn't have time for, and I really wanted to read it. And this belongs on shelf number 16. So I could have once again read it this week, but I completely forgot. It was just never put back on the shelf. So that's a problem. But you know what? It's okay because I got to read books that had been on my shelf for a while and I had kind of forgotten about them. And not only that, but the last one I read, Homegoing, is a 5-star. So I got a 3, a 4, and a 5-star in this vlog. Pretty evenly distributed. I'm so happy I read this. I cannot believe this had been on my shelf for probably almost 10 years. Like, I love this cover. The colors are just super appealing, but I had seen it going around a while ago. When was this published? Let me double check. 2016. So yeah, this is when I started watching Booktube and probably got a lot of hype when it first came out, and I bought it and I just never picked it up. But it was so good. I do want to mention that you shouldn't make the mistake I made, and I kind of forgot. I had seen it and I forgot about it, but there's a family tree in the beginning. You should put a post-it there and come back to that as often as needed because I forgot, and freaking decal pages are not helping. But it's important to remember what's going on because the book is super interesting. It was about sisters, but I wasn't fully right. So basically, you start a story about one member of that family, and then you go through these 2 branches of them generation by generation for like 200 years. And not only do you do that, but you flip-flop in between every generation. So at first it took me a second to like remember, okay, who is who, because I didn't realize that was, you know, what was going to happen. So each chapter is a new person. And as I had mentioned with the other book, I'm someone that gets overwhelmed when there are too many characters. But once I figured it out what was going on, I was okay. That's why I'm giving you the context. I feel like it's really, really helpful to know. But the book starts in the 1700s in Africa. And then, like I said, you're going to follow these two sisters' descendants for 200 years. And one of the branches stays in Africa, and the other one, through the slave trade, will go to America. So at that point, it becomes easier to remember who's who. And yeah, it's just to see what happens to each branches and to see generational trauma a little bit, and just the decision and what affects them, what happens to them. It's obviously a pretty dark book, but what really stuck with me and impressed me is that, again, every time you really get invested and attached to a character, you're done with them and you go to the next one, to the other branch. But every time I would be like, oh, no, not another one. I'm struggling with that. But then every time she would get me again and again and again for like 16 characters. Every time I got invested again. So it just goes to show that she's super talented. And like the chapters are not that long because, again, the book is like 300 pages. But every time she would manage to hurt me, quite frankly, every time. And again, it was just really interesting to see what would happen to the family and how the actions or inactions or just the consequences of events that happened to their ancestors continued to affect them for so many generations. And the next steps, again, for 200 years. I've never read a book like that, and I'm just really impressed. So that's why this is a 5-star for me. I 100% think this is worth reading. I feel like one of the differences through the branches is that obviously the one that stayed in Africa remembers mostly their ancestors compared to the ones that went to the US, and not having that identity and how it affects the characters also. That's why I was mentioning also generational trauma on both sides, to be honest. But yet it was just not like anything else I've read, basically. But yeah, this was the best book I've read this week, and maybe this month, actually. Yeah. It's my best book of the month so far. So worth it. I feel like it's underrated just because I feel like I haven't heard as many people talk about it lately. But at the time that I bought it, I know it was getting some hype. If you enjoy literary fiction, more character-driven stories, and that sounds good, definitely pick it up. It was so worth it. I'm really impressed. Like, I had kept it on my shelf. You know, sometimes you have a book and you're like, oh, this one I've heard good things, I'm going to like this. And then 10 years passes. Finally, and it was worth it. Sometimes they disappoint, that's heartbreaking, but did not disappoint. Super worth it. Unfortunately, this one will have to go back on the shelf. So let's put it right here. But you can see I've made progress. You know, there are more and more holes. I feel like, I mean, we started with 20 books, minus 3 plus 1. 18 books now. So, I mean, progress is progress. We'll take it. And with that, we have 3 more books off of my shelves. I'm really enjoying doing one shelf for the Read and Haul It, so I might do that a little bit more because it gives me more room. And I feel like I've done so many decluttering version of videos so far this year that I feel more picky and I don't want to get into a reading slump. So I might continue to do 1 week, 1 shelf. It's still me reading my physical TBR. It's just that I get the chance to choose which ones out of like 20 something books. So I think I'm going to keep going. What do you think? I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe. I'll put the ones that, actually the one I did last month, which was heavy on the decluttering. That was the big hole on the fantasy shelf. And I actually did an unhaul video recently if you want to see more of that, because I did get rid of about 50 books. So definitely check it out and I'll see you there. Bye.